semi-finals, so you should be super, super proud. It is always a really competitive process. And today we can't wait to leave you guys in the best possible stead ahead of your semi-final pitch. So over the next 2 hours, we're basically going to structure it like this. So as mentioned, there's a lot of us on the call this morning. Howard and I are going to walk you through some top tips from our experience in kind of pitch coaching and public speaking coaching on how to kind of best put together your pitch. Then we'll all have some kind of quiet time to actually start drafting your pitch text. And all the way through, as Howard said, we're open for questions either in the chat or you can unmute. And then in the second half, we are going to break out into a mega array of different breakout rooms. I think there's going to be about 10 different breakout rooms. We've got our fantastic MES entrepreneur interns with us this morning who are going to be in each breakout room. They're ready to give feedback. And then Howard and I are going to be kind of cycling around to make sure we can give input into as many of your pitches as possible, hopefully all of them. But there's definitely a lot of people to get through. So on that note, I think we should get cracking. So I am going to share my slides. And so today is all about the next stage in this process, which is nailing your pitch at the upcoming semi-finals. So over the next 2 hours, as I mentioned, we're going to cover great content, how to come across confidently in your body language and your presentation of your voice, and then most importantly, to get feedback on your pitch itself. And before we go any further, question for you all to test your memory: what pitch should you prepare? What is expected of you at this semi-final stage? Right in the chat. So anyone know what you should be preparing?
Here we go. Look at the answers are coming in now. 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minute pitch. 2 minute video pitch.
Okay, good stuff. Seems like some of you have done your reading. So to answer this question, the guidance from the GLA team that we received in the last couple of days is this. First of all, videos of 2 minutes and no longer. And of course, you can edit that footage down. And on that note, please don't use any software to speed up your video. We've seen this in the past. It actually ends up counting against you. Last year, the judges actually couldn't hear everything people were saying because people were trying to cram even more text into those 2 minutes. And often the most compelling pitches are the ones that have real clarity of message rather than trying to cram absolutely everything in your brain into that time. And then lastly, in terms of style and content, this is a pitch video and not an advert with a voiceover. So in the past, we've had finalists with visuals, we've had others without. And actually a slick pitch could just be you speaking to the camera, and that can often be just as compelling as anything more designed up. But if you do use visuals, there should be at least a portion of the video where you or one of your team members are pitching directly to the camera. So a couple of things to bear in mind, and absolutely no pressure to go one way or the other.
So I'm going to do something that I do a lot in these calls, be quite boring, reiterate the 2 minutes is vital. If you try and go over, it'll be cut. It's 2 minutes. If anything, you want it 1 minute 59 is to make sure you don't have that issue of an overlap. Like everyone tries to be really cute and get around this. It is 2 minutes. It is the criteria. This is something which happens in all the pitches that we've been in. People go, oh, I'll do 2 minutes 3. It won't matter. I get 10%, just like my dissertation. No, you don't. It's 2 minutes. Please be aware of that. It's not like a little flex. It's a hard and fast rule. This is now the world of pitching. There are rules, and sadly, 2 minutes is it. So it sounds boring,
Yeah.
but seriously, people lose out videos, and a video just cutting out is worse than a video being a second and maybe missing something a bit, that tiny bit of detail. But seriously, 2 minutes is the max.
Absolutely. Then next cue for you all, how should you prepare for your pitch? What are you going to be doing over the next few days to prepare for your pitch? Writing in the chat, what steps are you going to take to get yourself in the best possible place for your pitch? Cassie, practice speaking. Absolutely. Writing it down from Khadija. Absolutely agree with that one. Alexa, gathering pertinent information, practicing, writing a script, compelling story. Rory, spa day. I love that. It's one I haven't seen before, but I can fully get behind that. Great stuff. Practicing body language. Excellent. So we're going to walk you through basically our top tips and a bunch of different steps to get you prepped up. Howard, do you want to take the first one?
Absolutely. So this is something that everyone thinks is a bit of a, oh, where's the screen gone red? So this is something that everyone gets a bit blasé with and don't think it's a massive thing, but consider your audience. Consider who you're talking to. And this influences so much. It's the visuals, the language, and think about what information you're trying to get across to them. Why should they care about your pitch? We're talking about London here, so please include references to London and make sure it's very clear. People just try and go big and think, oh, it's got to be a scalable business. I'm going to talk about the world. This is London Mayor's entrepreneurial world. That is something there you can put in there, and then you go from and build on. So that is something you go from and build on going forward. I've learned that people will forget what you said to people, but often you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Mayor Angola. So really think about what you're trying to invoke and go and build from there. But yeah,
absolutely. And this thing is really important. We sometimes think human beings are rational animals, and we are to an extent, but fundamentally, I believe that we are emotional animals, and we respond to emotions, senses, being affected, happy, sad, moved, far more than facts and stats. And a big thing related to this is about your story. And this basically comes down to authenticity. Human beings respond to people who have a compelling kind of reason for being on the stage, for sharing their story, for building that business in the first place. So who are you and why are you doing this? So as we go through this process, and Howard and I are introducing some of these concepts, have a think about what it means for you. Maybe with this one, with your story, jot down some of the reasons why you founded this business, or why you're working on this idea. And when we think about all of our kind of collective advice for pitching, there are all of these different points. Quotations, being memorable, being inspiring, knowing your audience, empowering people, breathing, posture, telling them something new. But at the heart of this, and one of the most compelling parts of a pitch, is you. So who is the person behind this idea? And the example of this that I love,
Ed, you've been muted.
okay, I'm back. I don't know how much of that you missed, but I was going to share the story of someone called Andy Ian, and why, how he expresses his own story in such an effective way. So for those of you who don't know this guy, he started something called the Angel Investing School, where he supports people who may not otherwise have thought about angel investing to start making early stage investments, and particularly to bring those from diverse or kind of underserved backgrounds into startup investing. He's a product designer, he's a startup founder, he's a technologist, incredible guy that I definitely recommend checking out. And he talks about job interviews. And he said he used to go into job interviews and say, I'm a product designer with 10 years experience at top startups, and this is what I've learned. And then as he moved through his career, he realized what was most important to him was making entrepreneurship, technology, and investment inclusive. And so rather than saying, I'm a startup investor, founder, technologist, he said, my name's Andy, and I'm from Tottenham. And in Tottenham, there are 103 different languages spoken in a borough of a radius of 2 square miles. From the earliest age, diversity and multiculturalism has shaped everything I do, and I bring that forward into my career to make technology, entrepreneurship, and investment as open and inclusive as possible. And you think, wow, I will remember that guy. So he's not saying he's a startup founder, because there's a million of those. He's really talking about a story that's personal to him, about why he's there working on that particular mission. And that really, really stuck with me. So point number one, what is that story? What is your kind of why that sits behind your idea that can be really compelling for your audience? Okay. Howard, do you want to take us on to the next one?
Absolutely, and this is where we were talking about when you're thinking about building up the elevator pitch, and where we've mentioned before, really start by a statement, a fact, something that will get people interested immediately as you look at launching into your pitch. You want to get them, so if that's necessary, you go and lead on about yourself, but really start with something that will get their interest immediately. This affects 10,000 people within London. This has affected or seen a great raise of 20% issues within a population. Something that is really concrete and makes your pitch stand out and gets their interest from the off. So start by that and getting them motivated. Once again, linking to how the audience will react to what you're saying and build from there.
Absolutely. And we use this analogy of the brain harpoon because it's something that really sticks. Is it surprising? Is it funny? Is it shocking? How is it memorable? How can you get that opening to really stand out and engage your audience's attention? The next is something that many of you have mentioned in the chat, which is about writing your pitch script. I've seen a lot of people stand up in front of the camera, knowing their idea and thinking they can just go straight in and freestyle. But honestly, the people that have the best structured pitch have actually done multiple iterations of their pitch script. Whether or not they read from the script when they're pitching is a separate thing. I personally see this personal preference. I don't like reading from a script because I find it jars my brain and makes me sound a little bit kind of mechanical. But getting those ideas down on paper and understanding your flow, and most of all, understanding your key points, is time extremely well spent. And the way that I think about this is what we call the pyramid principle. So how you make information cut through is you almost introduce it in a concise way, and then you expand. So like a book, you have titles, chapters, headings, and then body. Or like a car, if I started with a car and started talking about how the engine works and how the internal electronics work and all of that stuff, actually you end up disengaging. But if I present how beautiful the external design is before, opening the hood and explaining more about how it works, that will have a lot more cut through with my audience. So I think about these as headings. So across a pitch, you will have certain points that you really want to land with your audience. It might be your brain harpoon, your initial story, your killer stat. It might be something really special about your product. It might be an inspirational closing thought or closing line. But structuring your pitch around those points and slowing down as you deliver those points, giving them space to land, can give your pitch real weight and real gravitas. So again, have a think as we're going through this process. What are your key headings? What are those points that you really want to land? So Howard, do you want to kind of walk us through these kind of 10 different sections or headings that make up a great pitch?
Absolutely. So this is where some people think of overcomplexing their pitches, and it's really actually quite simple if you put powerful headings and make sure it's clear. So going back to the brain harpoon, did you know that? Re-buying them in, getting them attention and re-hitting them and opening up your pitch. Your story, my name is, great example I've got this is someone I used to work with did a pitch all about mental health and also had a PhD in it. Beginning of their pitch, they never even mentioned that and why they were. This is a point where you can qualify why you're eligible or why your team is. And really, my story is, and I come from this background. It really gets them to buy into you and your idea. Now, this is something we've been banging on since the first workshop. The problem: be clearly state what the problem is. Don't try and add 10 different problems. Be clear what the one problem is and how does and who does it affect, with what impact. Then clearly state how your solution solves this problem and how it is related. Don't go off sideways, be quite clear. Problem, solution. Finally, the market. Sorry, not finally, market. How many are the total users? What is the total annual spend? What is the size of the market? You'll see a lot of different things about accessible market go from here, but be clear that you clearly state what the market is and go and build. Now, why now? There's a lot right now. The best example thing to look at is especially around climate change. You can see the headlines and how people are saying around that and how it needs to respond, and then making it very clear and build from. So why now? What is the urgency? And saying the problem that comes from the brain harpoon, what the stats are, why it's affecting, and building on. Competitive advantage. That also ties into your story. Why you? Where's your what's the differentials? We've talked about that and how you kind of build forward and say the USPs and really emphasize it. Start talking a bit around your business model and how you make money. This is one of the areas where people in pitches make it and put far too much information and it goes crazy. Is be quite clear. We will make our business model is this. We will make money from this, and really keep it quite concise. It doesn't need to make up 90% of your pitches. Some people start panicking that it's all about making money. You can quite clearly state at this stage simply. So make sure it is clear how you make money. Team and advisors, once again, linking it through, talking about who the team is, who your advisors are. Once again, doubling down on that competitive advantage, differentiations, and making sure it's clear that we are the team to deliver this solution to the market and to help start resolving those problems. And finally, end with a bang, be memorable. This isn't like singing and dancing, but it's quite clearly of like, we're here to solve this problem now and what your strategic vision is. And paint that picture that this is going to solve and this is needed right now to help London get over these challenges it's facing. And what could you achieve by winning the award? And go from there. Once again, so that's tying in, thinking about your audience, starting with that brain harpoon, talking about what we said at every workshop, they tie together. Make sure if you're saying something around the solution, like your problem, that it's clearly stating the solution, that it links through to the market. If you're saying you're going to help 20-year-olds, make sure it's clearly stated, I'm going to help 20-year-olds, but then in your market analysis, you start talking around 60-year-olds, it doesn't relate. This must have a flow. And if we go on to the final point around, so we've got powerful headings, but go on to the final point, and you all mentioned this earlier, is practice. With practice comes refining, and this is where that 2-minute barrier becomes so vitally important. When you practice and refine, you'll understand where I always tell people that your script is going on a diet. It's how and where and how it can be more impactful. You'll realize actually this statement goes along with this visual if you are using visuals, and make it really clear and refine. And refine is, do not worry, like I say, business model is one of the ones I see most is people try and take up 90% of their pitch with a business model. And it makes no sense. It gets away. We need to hear about the problem, the solution, the team, the market. We need all these things. Do not get bogged down in one area. So yeah, Ed.
Absolutely. Thanks, Howard. And so to explain a little bit more about why we picked out these headings, if you have a spare hour and have time to look at some startup pitches on YouTube, there's tons of them out there, you will actually see that, you know, most of pitches pretty much, with a few changes of order, follow this structure. And actually, we were doing a bit of research before today at you know, what pitch decks different VC and investment funds use. And actually Sequoia Capital, which is one of the biggest VCs in the world, they invested in Airbnb and other big tech scale-ups and household names. They use this structure, basically. So using this as a loose framework is really helpful. And as I say, you know, you can move some, you know, the order of some of these components around, however best fits your flow. But the important thing, as Howard's alluded to here, is that you will see how this structure emerges. And actually, from points sort of 3 to 9, this is kind of the nuts and bolts of your business, how it works, the problem it solves, what it does, your advantage, etc. But either side of that, you have this killer stat, this story, and then finally you end with a bang. So again, the middle section is about the rational, technical parts of this pitch, but always remember to inspire with storytelling at the start and at the end. And that is how your pitch will really land. And to bring this to life a little bit more, through the course of these workshops, we've been using this example of Lonely Joan, the persona, who is an elderly woman who is feeling isolated in her care home in London. And we've been thinking about different ways, different ideas to solve this problem. And this is an example pitch. And you'll see across the next 10 bullet points that I am actually following those kind of 10 structure headlines that we've just introduced to you. So, did you know that mental health is now the #1 reported issue in over 75s in London? We're pals and we're revolutionizing the way elderly keep in touch with loved ones via our smart, intuitive, and affordable phone app. Bam, that is what I do in one line. Very simple. Then the market. Across the UK, 3 million over 70s live with loneliness. What do we do? Our mobile app combines intuitive, voice-activated call scheduling and friendly voice notes to keep users in regular touch with loved ones, etc. Then the urgent need. Why now? Why? Why should that your audience care? Well, the aging population in the UK is putting a strain on the NHS, and there are 12 million people in this age category and a further billion internationally. And there is a huge market for this across the world. This is a massive problem. Take note of what I'm saying. Listen, you need to listen to this. It's important. Then the next half. So what makes this different? Well, PALS is the only solution on the market that combines intuitive design, data insights, and smart scheduling tools. The business model, it's a B2B2C model with these costs, and we're currently piloting with AXA Care Homes. And you should believe in us because we're experts. We're designers, entrepreneurs, engineers with backgrounds in health, social care, and business. And we're supported by advisors from one of the UK's leading care homes. And then lastly, our mission. We are pals, giving the elderly a smarter way to keep in touch. So hopefully that gives you an example of how you might bring that structure to life. And we can put these slides on screen when in a moment you're going to just take about 20 minutes to start drafting up your pitch. But before we do that, we wanted to think about effective communication. And can I pass back over to you, Howard, to talk us through how effective communication happens?
Okay, so this is always a pie chart that people are shocked by, and it's something that is even more present, and people don't think it's so much on video and calls, but it's really key. And this is also why in a lot of workshops we encourage people to have their webcams on and talk about. It's around your content makes up so little percentage of it. It's how you deliver it. And that comes from your voice. That comes from body language. It comes from all these elements that add into it. Like, people are always buying and go, no, you're talking rubbish on the content. But seriously, it's how you deliver it. You've got to think about your content. It's got to be a really solid way to back up what you're trying to say and what your message you're trying to get across. But people can tell your enthusiasm. People can tell where you want to be involved if your pitch and tone of your voice. So that's why try and do live practices is really good, because there's a split between practice and refining. Refine is you look at your script and think about it and go. Practice is record yourself, think about it, pitch to different people, see how you feel, find what makes you comfortable in different ways of speaking, and then also think about your body language. Are you opening up? Are you closing off? It is so much clearer also on video calls, because they only see this much. But then when it comes into real life as well, it's really clear as well, and you've got to think about these things. And it's being comfortable with your content. My style of delivery is very different to Ed's style of delivery. Everyone has their own style of pitching and going from there. When I'm doing presentations, I use my hands a lot and talk a lot and talk and go from there and use my voice up and down. Everyone has their own style, but this is the prominent thing you need to be aware of. Do not solely rely on your content and just be like, go from there. Think about how it sounds. If you've got a big stat, put a load of passion into it. Put a passion and deliver it in there and make it clear. Something that also people don't think of, and something it kind of fits into here, is pauses in your pitching and going from there. Effective communication. If you're throwing a massive stat out there, this affects 99% of people. By the way, we're Bob, Jeffrey, and Tina that are going to deliver this. There's been no time to digest that. There's no change in your body language. You've gone on straight in between information. A 2-second pause with an effective delivery of a voice and you pausing and sitting there somber in body language can impact more than you try and do 3 extra slides around some facts and statistics. You've got to be aware of that. And it comes down to this: your content so little in regards, it's your voice and your body language, showing your passion, showing why you want to deliver this and going from there.
Absolutely. And that really goes back to that point about those 3 to 5 key points that we mentioned earlier, and Howard is absolutely right. Those pauses help information land. So think about the 2 minutes and not about the volume of content that you get out, but the quality of delivery, the quality of your expression, pauses, the shape of your voice, the arc of the story you're telling through that. And honestly, if you have to cut out 20% of your content to get there, the judges won't notice if you're telling a brilliant story. So keep all of that in mind. Right, we are going to stop there. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen to see if have we got any questions coming through.
So yeah, we've got some. So Joanne, what do we do if we have any idea that resolves 2 problems, e.g. environmental, but obviously solves other problems for the user outside of that? Okay, so this is really clear. But you've already said it in your answer. If you're solving an environmental problem, say the solution, solve that problem. If it's people outside of, great, but clear, you can then say, and this will affect the wider market of this. There's areas, and it's thinking about direct and indirect competitors. That's like when you've done your analysis, it's the knock-on effects are great, but what and where do you get to in regards to solving that? Think for one, you've got 2 minutes and go and build on from that, and then build from there onwards. Okay, so don't get too worried about getting bogged down and saying, oh, this solves it for this and this. The core addressable market, like who you're going to, build it around that and build that solution and go from there.
So yeah, I think sometimes this thing about solving 2 problems comes up quite a lot. And as Howard said, you will have one core problem that you're solving. But one way that you might kind of attribute this is you can say, we are solving X problem in the environment in London. But even more than that, this problem also affects this particular community and their health on a day-to-day basis. So you very quickly summarize what is two kind of different types of problem. So not just this, but also, and that helps elevate it. We have had a couple of questions about it's a lot to fit into 2 minutes. I challenge you on this. So that PALS pitch I just shared, I actually got that under 60 seconds with plenty of pauses and breaks. So it is absolutely possible, and we've got some time now to start putting together your draft pitch. Louise,
sorry, just to add on that as well, guys. Like, this is really important. It's great, and you're understanding that. I've seen people pitch for 2 million, 5 million pounds in 2 minutes, and they've included all this, and they've had a lot of complex ideas. This is within worlds of science and engineering, but they've managed to put it into basic language that any layman in the audience can understand, and that they've then got the message and they've got the funding. Yes, they've had years of practice, but it is possible. And then there's one also about percentage of pitch and time. You'll understand when you write it, and that's why we want you to do it now and start practicing now and today, because you'll start to see quickly of hearing from your peers, from us, what that percentage looks like. There isn't a defined. Some people can really get their message across and solution and problem really crisp and clearly in like bang, and then feel that they need to add up. It comes, and it'd be wrong for us to say to 100 people on this call, "I'll put 10% here, 10% there." Build on it, and you'll see, and go from there.
Absolutely. Someone's asked about 3 is the magic number. I love this one. This goes back to kind of Roman times and styles of rhetoric. So I conquered. For some reason, human beings remember stuff in groups of 3 better. Don't know why. It's called a tricolon. That's the technical name. But when you're talking about your benefits, for example, group them in 3s. So why is my idea so good? Number 1, we are better and more intuitively designed than the competition. Number 2, we have AI that is creating smart scheduling. And number 3, we give access to care home workers to rich data to help them target their support better. I can make that, I'm thinking aloud, but 3 points like that makes it land. In terms of number of people pitching, this is again all, at your discretion. If you have more than 1 team member, it can be nice to involve them, but equally, if you feel your pitch will land better if it's just one of you, get together, practice, try out a few different formats, and that will help.
I think there's one just around that body language being most effective. Do you suggest using visuals or not? We're saying in the pitch, the voice and the content that's how you effectively communicate and build across on that. Is if you can, but like we said with what's needed, there'll need to be someone on the screen presenting if there is a visual being used. It cannot just be a voiceover. So just be very aware that like we said, people can just do a really slick pitch of just themselves and pitching their idea rather than adding visuals. It's hard to say. It's you guys got to find what works for your group and for your content, but it is really clear if it's a hard idea that you think a visual will help, put that in, build around that. That's fine. It's just you've got to find your flow. Pitching and styles becomes, we can give you the criteria, is now for you and your business ideas. We'll give you the tools to go work on what works for you and what goes and flows for your pitch, and it becomes through the practice, refining and going from there. So like Ed said just then, see what works. Some people can fit 6 different presenters in because they are all really key and can speak about something with some authority, and it's like, right, I buy in, I believe that idea. Other people have just one excellent presenter in a group and they're the person that pitches every single time. Some people just need a single card, a single image, and that's how they pitch, where others have a massive slide deck that supports them. So it's really you just finding it. And if the visuals become an issue and you can't use them to support your pitch, don't use them. But if they do, great. It's you finding your flow, and that's why we're really keen you engage in this workshop as well when we go on to the drafting and into the practice pitching.
Absolutely. So last point before we pause for you to draft your pitches, Antonia has asked about the tools to actually record your pitch. We've got a few recommendations on that, but I've put some in the chat. So one is Loom, excuse me, which is a brilliant screen recorder. You can get a free account and get set up, and you have your face as a little bubble in front of the slides, which can look really good. And then another one is called Veed, so VWD.io, and you can do tons of stuff on there. You can add music, subtitles, emojis. You can write on the screen. It's beautiful and very, very easy to use. So you can record an MP4 and then upload it to Veed and edit stuff really easily. Right, we have done a huge amount of talking. It is now over to you guys. You have until about 11 o'clock to put together an early draft of your pitch. If you remember, we have kind of suggested a broad structure for that pitch, which you will find on slide 16 on the slides that I've just put in the chat. Take a look at that, start thinking, well, look at those 10 points on the headings, but most of all, think about what your key 3 to 5 points are that you want to land and get them to really stick in your judges' minds and build up your script from there. As always, Howard and I are here. If you have questions, drop them in the chat and we will address them as we go. All right, over to you guys. Don, while you're on the call, I wanted to double check if the finals are going to be live this year and whether there's a final decision on that. Just seen that question come through from Emily.
Yes, so we're planning to have the final event live in person, venue pending. So, based on that, kind of with the hybrid approach that we've been having, yes, we do expect the pitches to be in person. But again, we'll finalise all of those details in due course. But the event will be in person, provided everyone can make it. With sort of the COVID and everything. In terms of submitting the videos, a SharePoint link will be sent to you. Again, in due course, for you to send your semi-finalist pitch through to the team, so that we can then send these on to the judges. So again, not to worry about that. All of that is in hand, and you will get the relevant information in a timely manner. And yes, about the UK, sort of the right to open a business in the UK. Yes, so you need to be in a position to have a startup visa, or be able to apply for a startup visa from June this year. So it's in place by October, or UK citizenship, and so on. We have talked about this in our FAQs, but I would advise speaking to your university department on this, because we're not in a position to provide kind of legal advice on this kind of info. So yeah, please do talk to your university departments on this, the relevant ones, just because they'll have kind of a clearer idea on what it is you need specific to your situation. Hearing back from the judges again. So you've got about a month from when you found out you were in the semi-finals to kind of put your pitch together. And so hopefully by mid-May you should know whether or not you're in the finals. Again, a specific date will be given to you. It just depends on when we finish all of the judging on our side and compiling that feedback for you, but it would be around that kind of mid-May point, kind of around I want to say sort of around the 11th of May, that week. You should find out. Yes. No problem.
So a reminder, I've got just over 10 minutes left to do your first draft of your pitch. Then we'll just take a quick comfort break, and we're going to go into breakout rooms to start, sharing your pitches and getting peer feedback. Catherine, I think the final date is TBC, but the GLA team will update you as and when.
Yes, hopefully it will be kind of it will be in the summer, and we'll let you guys know as soon as possible. We're in the process of sort of confirming venues and so on. So yeah, you'll have ample amount of time to finalize everything in terms of that.
Do let us know if you have questions about your pitch as well. Obviously, that's the focus of the next 10 minutes.
Does anyone have any questions about how you're structuring it, the pitch, or how you're starting to? Because we will be going into practice, and like we say, we want to give you some tips right now of how you're structuring it. Are people writing paragraphs on each section? or are you writing simple lines and bullet points? Like, for example, for me, I don't write out a full script. I've just got my hardline points that I can then build and structure, then write it out longer, and then make my notes to actually deliver the pitch, like, and then practice and perfect it over time. Some people like to do write a whole long script immediately. So what are you guys working on, feeling? Because we will be going into practice and we will be throwing it out to you to practice. Otherwise, we're going to have a very quiet hour with you guys just sat there and us trying to encourage and getting the interns working as well. So please just ask any questions now.
And start with those headings, those key points. Before writing lots of detail and paragraphs, start with those headings. Really understand what your key points are.
Ed, do you want to potentially put that slide with the 10 points on again? Just to, I know we've shared all the slides in, but just up on the screen if people are just having a slight panic and scribbling.
Yeah. All right, good plan. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Can you still see it?
No, it's gone and switched to your.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. No, Frida, it wasn't necessarily. Don't worry. We were just discussing then some things around the submissions, people's eligibility, and how the final works. It's not been hard points about the actual pitch and presentation. We were just trying to include and get you guys to think about it. So feel free if you got any questions. Yes, Loom is fantastic. Ed has all the best tools and knows where to find them. So, like we said, building a temporary app all the way up to Loom really can help. And just think of what you're looking at supporting you.
Sorry, I needed it back.
Yeah, sorry. Just gonna put it back up 1 second. Yeah. Can you see that okay?
So, Vida, the reason we're showing you this criteria and run through is what the judges have in mind when they come to review pitches. So this is what we suggest. This is how pitches are all structured, and it gives a balance. I would say, is there any way of refining your pitch to include talking about your team or your resources? It doesn't have to be a full 30 second segment, but it's just something quite important. And we appreciate you might have written a script already, but just think about that refining. This is a criteria the judges will see and know. This is anyone in pitching. This is what they ask for.
And a quick way that I refer to teams is not like our team is Ed Halliday, and Howard Duffy. You can just say we are a team of 5 expert entrepreneurs, business people, and designers, or climate scientists, or whatever. And then you move on, and that's 5 seconds. Right.
I've had a pitch where it took 30 seconds and someone said, this is an MBA student, they passed with an environmental science degree, this person has started a business, this person has been working on bars for 10 years. It's like, if it's all that, just put as little bullet point words and maybe use a visual, but just like Ed said, we're a team, this is what we do, go from there. It's just a criteria statement that people see, and it adds credibility that you have a team, or that you yourself or advisors will work towards this idea and see this goal be reached. And that's really the main bit. It adds credibility to you and your business and to your team and what you're trying to achieve. We're going to, so just about how do you get, you've written your pitch, great. We're going to go into a practice session very shortly. And you can practice and get feedback there. Bronny, what you're just a solo founder, that's fine. It's just saying that I am this, but talking about what experience you bring, potentially people that you've spoken to, advisors you might have. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Solo founders can be, and it is a great thing. But you'll always have someone that you're speaking to about it that potentially has advised you. Just think about that network, and that can add, once again, that credibility. Your story adds credibility. That, like I said, the person I mentioned earlier, she was a solo founder when I started working with her, but she had a PhD that she'd worked on 7 years in this area. She'd worked 10 years in the music industry, and it was around using music for emotional intelligence training for children. Like, I was like, how are you not saying this? Because as soon as you said that the credibility in you, your idea, someone goes, oh, this person just likes music and wants to help children. Now I've got a PhD and worked in the music industry for 10 years. Wow, okay, I need to listen to this person. This person has worked and studied in this field. Great. So if you're 100% on your own, fine, but use that experience that you bring and really leverage that. One of the semi-finalists last year, it was similar, setting out on own, but just, and I've been doing this for years. This is my experience, and this is why I can deliver this solution. Great. So just double down and back yourself 100% of my experience makes me valid for here. But saying if you have a team of bringing on their expertise and say us as a team make this happen because this is who we are.
Do you know what, Howard? Looking back at those 10 headlines, I think there's a part of this that we need to add, which is related to that, which is like, why us? And also kind of what you could call traction. So if you say, I've got an idea, cool. If you can say you've got an idea and you've spoken to 50 people about it and have deep insights about it, you have an idea and you have 3 people on your team who are experts on developing that idea or about that market or about the problem you're solving, or you've got an idea and you've signed up some people to work with you, to partner with you, to pilot with you. You've signed people up onto your website. You've got a mailing list. You've got a database. That just gives so much credibility. It's like, I always used to say, your idea is not enough. You know, what is your idea plus? What is your idea in a way that gives me confidence that you guys are going to succeed in executing on and implementing that idea? Why us? How can you prove it? Prove that you're going to be successful. Okay, any final questions before we just pause for a little comfort break? No, okay, so we're now at 11 o'clock. We are just going to take a 3-minute quick break and be back here ready to kick off for 11:05.
Just quickly, guys, this comfort break is really important because we're going into pitching. Get yourself psyched up, whatever you need to do, jump around the room, whatever you need. We really want some people firing into pitches because, like, this is something that it's not a bugbear. We like to say to contact us out of this, but people say, "Oh, can I practice my pitch to you at a different time?" No, that's why we do this session. We want you to practice now. We want your peers to hear and see and learn, and more people do that, the better you'll get.
Right, I'm going camera off. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Cheers, everyone.
Ed, hello.
Hey.
So just in terms of the breakout rooms, what I'll do is I'll assign you and Howard separate rooms. And so if you just drop into the chat when you're ready for me to move you to the next room, I'll move you.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
So welcome back, everyone. I've just written a note in the chat to say add a thumbs up reaction to say that you're back in the room, so we get a sense of who's here. And don't split us up just yet, because I'm just going to kind of share a little bit more about how this is going to work. I'll just wait 1 minute to get everyone back in.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that is the majority of people back in the workshop. Welcome back, everyone. I hope, as Howard suggested, you are energized and raring to go for part 2 of this workshop. So the way this is going to work is a little bit nuanced. So we have 10 breakout rooms dividing up what is about 100 people. So there should be about 10 people per breakout room, all things being well. And we imagine that might be up to 10 teams, but it might be between about 5 and 10 teams, depending on how many team members are here today. And as ever, time, we're tight on time. So we have to structure this well. What we're going to ask you to do is that in every breakout room, we want one person with their phone or equivalent setting a timer. In most breakout rooms, there'll be a Mayor's Entrepreneur intern. In some of them, there might not be. So we may not have enough on the call today. But before you start the pitches, make sure you have someone on the timer. So if you're an intern in a breakout room, you can be like, yeah, I'm on the timer. If you don't have an intern, just make sure someone in the group is on that timer, because everyone needs a chance to speak. So put your 2-minute timer on, and I'm sure all of you are very polite people, but I'm going to ask you to be quite strict. So if someone is pitching and they get to 2 minutes, just say, okay, you're going to have to stop there, because we need to make sure we give everyone a chance to speak. For 2 minutes, then about 1 minute of feedback from the group. And some of the things we want you to look at. Number 1, important. Did you get it? Did you understand what they were talking about? And often, if the answer is no, it's not about content actually, but about delivery, all of that body language and tone of voice stuff that Howard was talking about. Maybe they need to slow down, space things out, more pauses. Second, did they feel, or how did they feel at the end of the pitch? Did they feel moved, inspired? Did it feel memorable? Did it feel different to other things they'd heard about? So think about, different components about how you can get different, your peers and your friends' pitches to improve. And then once you've done the 2-minute pitch plus about a minute feedback, you can rotate. And Howard and I are going to be floating between breakout rooms, dropping in to listen to your pitches, to share our feedback too. Howard, were you going to jump in there?
I'm just going to say this is something we've had fed back in other pitch workshops. Is people go, oh, people are going to steal my idea around like some little differences, and oh, I'm not going to practice, I'm against these teams. Right, okay, you're all in the same competition, however, you're all like-minded people that you want to do a business, you want to do better, and you want to do better for London. I cannot emphasize this enough. You will not get this level of feedback at any other place than you can today. Your friends will say they're good. I'm a good friend, I like to think. My friends come up with an idea, I'll challenge them to a point, and then I'll just go, you know what, yeah, good idea, crack on. I will still hold it back. These people might be competitors, but also are still thinking, you know what, you can do better. You're all like-minded in that sense. So go out and test it. If I'm in a breakout room and no one is speaking, guess what? I'm going to move on to another one, because there might be someone else wanting to speak and want to talk. And this is where I become a bit brutal. I'm all like, yeah, re-emphasize, but when it comes to pitching, you need to buy in. come off camera, come and deliver your pitch and go. It doesn't matter if it goes unbelievably wrong. I've had someone say, you know what, at 1 minute 30, that's all I've got right now. They still got to practice. And guess what? They made the finals. Test it, get that feedback, go and buy in. If you don't, you're only hindering yourself, and you're giving an advantage to the other team by not doing, whereas they would probably give you some information that could help and support you further.
Totally.